The night sea in the Strait of Hormuz didn't look like a place where the world could break, but it sounded like one. A low, endless hum rolled across the black water, the deep, throated growl of tankers idling in uneasy formation. Their steel bodies creaked under invisible tension, as if even the ships themselves understood what was at stake. Far in the distance, a faint orange glow flickered on the horizon, oil flares dancing like warning beacons in the dark. And above it all, a dry wind whispered across the waves, carrying a message no one wanted to hear. Something had changed. And this time it might not change back. Captain Reza Farhadi stood on the bridge of the Shahin, an aging Iranian patrol vessel that had seen more years of quiet duty than conflict. He was a man shaped by contradictions, disciplined but reflective, loyal yet quietly questioning. His father had been a fisherman in Bandar Abbas, a man who believed the sea was a giver, not a battleground. Reza had grown up chasing gulls and hauling nets, dreaming not of power but of peace. But history had other plans. Now, in his late 40s, with silver threading through his beard and a permanent crease between his brows, Reza found himself at the center of a storm that was not just political, but deeply personal. He lowered his binoculars slowly, his voice calm but heavy. They're holding position again. Behind him, Lieutenant Armin, barely 30, shifted uneasily. He had joined the Navy with bright ideals, honor, defense, pride, but lately those words felt complicated. "Sir," Armin said, his voice tight, "3 more tankers have rerouted south. That makes 12 in the last 48 hours. Reza nodded, but didn't respond immediately. His eyes lingered on the dark silhouette of a massive oil tanker in the distance. It wasn't moving. That was the problem. Thousands of miles away in a glass, walled office overlooking London's Canary Wharf, Sarah Whitmore stared at her screens in disbelief. Numbers flickered like heartbeats, green, red, then sharply red again. Oil prices were climbing, fast. Sarah wasn't new to volatility. A senior analyst at a global energy firm, she had built her career predicting chaos and turning it into strategy. But this felt different, less like a fluctuation, more like a shift. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Clients, colleagues, media inquiries. "Sarah," her boss's voice crackled through the speakerphone, "we need a statement. Now, is this temporary, or are we looking at a sustained disruption?" She hesitated, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Her entire career had been built on confident answers. But tonight, confidence felt like a lie. "I don't think," she said slowly. "This is going back to normal anytime soon." The line went silent. Back in the Strait, another subplot was quietly unfolding aboard the Liberian, flagged tanker Ocean Crown. Its chief engineer, Daniel Akoy, leaned against a rusted railing, staring out at the still water. Daniel had spent 15 years at sea, chasing a better life for his family back in Lagos. His daughter had just been accepted into university. Her dream, his dream, but dreams cost money, and delays like this. They cost everything. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through old messages from his wife, photos of his daughter studying late into the night. Voice notes filled with laughter. Now all he felt was a growing knot of fear. What if we're stuck here? One of the crew members asked quietly behind him. Daniel didn't answer right away. He didn't have one. Meanwhile, in Tehran, political pressure was building. Dr. Layla Morshed, a senior advisor in the Energy Ministry, sat in a dimly lit conference room, surrounded by maps, reports, and tense faces. Unlike many in the room, Layla had spent years studying abroad. She understood the global system, not just its mechanics, but its fragility. "The world is watching Hormuz," she said firmly, "but more importantly, the markets are reacting." A senior official scoffed. "Markets always react." Layla shook her head. "Not like this. This isn't fear of a moment. It's fear of a new reality." She paused, letting her words settle. "If we signal instability long enough, it becomes the expectation." That was the real danger, not ships stopping. But trust disappearing. Days passed, then more. Each morning, headlines grew more urgent. Hormuz tensions deepen. Oil surges amid uncertainty. Global supply chains on edge. But beneath the headlines were people, real lives caught in the crosscurrent. Captain Reza began to feel it most at night. The quiet moments when the sea was still and his thoughts weren't. He remembered his father's words, "The sea gives, but it also listens." What would it hear now? Orders had become more ambiguous. Patrol routes extended. Communications more guarded. There was no official closure of the strait. But there didn't need to be. Uncertainty was doing the job. One evening, Armin approached him again. "Sir, do you think this ends soon?" Reza looked at him, really looked. He saw himself, decades earlier, the same questions, the same hope for simple answers. "No," he said quietly. "I think this is just the beginning of something longer." Armin swallowed hard. "And what do we do?" Reza turned back to the horizon. "We do our duty, but we don't forget the cost." In London, Sarah finally sent her report. Her conclusion was stark. The Strait of Hormuz may remain operational, but it is no longer stable. Markets will price in risk not as a temporary spike, but as a permanent feature. The reaction was immediate. Prices surged again, investors panicked, governments scrambled, and suddenly what had been a regional tension became a global reality. The climax came quietly, not with explosions, but with absence. One morning, satellite images showed something chilling. The strait wasn't blocked, it was emptying, fewer ships, wider gaps, slower movement. The world's most critical oil artery was losing its pulse. Back on the Ocean Crown, Daniel received a message, delayed, indefinite routing. His hands trembled as he read it. He thought of his daughter again, her future hanging in the balance of forces she couldn't even see. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in years, he felt powerless. In Tehran, Layla watched the same data with a heavy heart. Strategy had become reality, but reality wasn't as clean as theory. "Is this what we wanted?" she whispered to herself. No one answered, and on the Shahin, Captain Reza stood alone as dawn broke over the strait. The water glowed gold. Beautiful, deceptive, he raised his binoculars one last time. Fewer ships, more silence. He lowered them slowly, exhaling. "This sea," he murmured, "was never meant to carry this much fear." The resolution didn't come with a treaty or a sudden reversal. Instead, it arrived as a quiet understanding. The world adjusted, new routes, new strategies, new calculations. But something fundamental had shifted. The idea of normal had changed, and perhaps that was the real story. Not that the strait closed, but that trust did, and rebuilding that would take far longer than reopening any waterway. In the end, the lesson lingered like the echo of waves against steel. Stability isn't just about keeping things moving. It's about keeping belief alive, and once that belief cracks, even slightly, the entire world feels it. From a fisherman's son in Iran to a trader in London to a father on a stranded ship, all connected, all watching, all waiting for something that might never fully return to what it once was.